Hey guys, welcome back to the Dr. Cloud Show. It is a Monday. I hope you had a good weekend, that your week is off to a good start, whatever it is that you are doing. As we still find, I don't know, what day are we in now? It's just I was on a Zoom meeting with an organization I work with, and they said we're in day whatever. I can't remember the number, but I went, "Are you kidding me? It's been that long?" Yeah, it's that long. But I think we're kind of adapting into it. And one of the adaptations that we've made is we began this program. And so when we all got locked down, if you're new to the show, we just came up with the idea to do this one night. And the next day we tried it and you guys showed up. And so we now have this gathering every day, which I have really enjoyed. I want to thank y'all, the audience, for what you do for each other. You know, we go on the different platforms on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and just the way that you comment on each other's, what the callers are talking about and what everybody's gone through, and people post stuff, and what a community you're building there. And I really, that's what's making this kind of like one of the real fun things for me, is to see that happen. And also, just to get to interact with you guys. I love the call in. I love to talk to you about kind of what's going on in life. And I love it that callers call and we get to share your life with other people, because we all learn when we listen to each other. So in order to do that, let me give you a number: 844-940-2774 is the number to get on the air. 844-940-2774. And you can do that during this hour, or you can watch the program or link it and send it to all of your friends, your whole address book, send it to everybody. Because if we build an audience, then we will continue to do this. And that's what I would love to see happen. So send it out to your buddies. 844-940-2774. Okay, now another thing we do on this program is, in the beginning, I always talk about some idea that I've been working with or interacted with a client about or read some research on or something. And today I want to talk about a concept that is one of the most important things that we can think about in terms of our growth and our performance and our well-being in life. And that is the concept called internalization. Internalization. I will never forget one of my mentors, one of the most important people to me in my professional and personal path of growth in both those areas, was a woman named Althea Horner. And she was a psychoanalyst from New York who moved to California, and right when I was in graduate school, and I got connected with her. And she was at the time probably, I would say, in the handful of the most acclaimed psychologists out there in doing incredible things. It's too long to go into. But I remember she said this sentence one time, and it was in a training session, but she said to a bunch of psychologists, "Remember, what was once on the outside becomes inside. What was once on the outside becomes inside." Now, the concept we were talking about at the time was structuralization of the personality. And what happens in development in children when we all were growing up is whatever was on the outside becomes inside. That's the way humans are wired. You come into, you buy a computer, right? Comes home from the store. There's not a lot of stuff on the hard drive. It's not a tabula rasa, but there's not a lot of stuff on there. And so the software has got to, from the outside, it's got to get downloaded. And we do that through primarily our relationships. That's why you see a child, for example, when you take a toddler and take them for a walk for some, they just run down the street and mom or dad goes, "No, hold on, stop. No, wait, look both ways. Okay. Okay, now let's go." Well, the next day, what happens? They go out there and they're running, and you go, "Stop, wait, no, look both ways." Well, at some point, what's going to happen is that kid's going to be running, and they get to the curb and they stop themselves. And you'll even hear them many times say the words, "Wait a minute, stop, wait, no." The voices that were on the outside now live in their head. Okay, that's how we function in life. We we couldn't we couldn't drive a car if we didn't have the process of internalization. So that just is like an is. It's just the way it works. The question is, what have you internalized about yourself, about others, about life, about patterns of the way relationships work? What's the software like in your head? Because what a lot of people do is they, first of all, never realize that they're going along pre-programmed ways of thinking, A, and B, they've never really realized the process of how you change those, not only is observing them and beginning to think differently, but actually having to get external new voices into your head. That's the way it works. So if we grew up with a lot of criticism, you're not just going to self-talk your way out of that. You've also got to hear other new voices that believe in you, that encourage you, that neutralize the old voices. And if the whatever fires together, wires together, right, in the neurological systems. And so you begin to work on these new ones, and the power of the old ones go back down, and now you're down a new path. So I'm going to make 2 points here, having laid that foundation. One of the points is, it is amazing the power that the voices in your head have that come from your key relationships in life. When I wrote the book, The Power of the Other, which is basically in some ways about this whole process, the power that other people have, both negatively and positively in our lives. I quoted a study in there that was just an amazing study. What they did was they took math students, advanced math students, and it was either college or graduate school, but these are math majors, graduate students in math. In other words, really, really smart math students, right? The kind of 800 on their math SAT types, okay? And they put them in a controlled condition in a competition and a race on computer screens working complicated, I think, calculus problems. All right. So they paired them or matched the two groups, the group A and group B, in terms of same IQs, same test scores, same 4.9 averages, same background experiences of curricula, all the classes they've taken, exactly the same, except for one factor. And they did this, the students not knowing it, but they did it through asking a lot of life questions. Students didn't know this is what they were looking for. But the one factor, Group A, everything else being equal, Group A had a positive relationship with their own fathers around performance, an encouraging father, a positive father around performance and getting better and encouraging and reaching goals and solving problems. And when they made mistakes, being normal and good about it. Group B had a negative relationship with their fathers in a critical way or some other way, mostly criticism, I think, around performance. Okay? Those are the two groups. They put them on a race. Then they hook their brains up to brain scans and they say, go. So they're racing and they're doing these problems. The brain scans are watching what's going on in their brains. Okay. Here's what the researchers did. While they're working the problems, the researchers subliminally, you know what that means? It means you can flash something on a screen where your brain sees it, but your visual recognition that you've seen something, it's so fast that your brain doesn't know you've seen it, but it's seen it, right? Subliminally, they flash at various points, they flash the student's father's name on the screen while they were working their problems, and they never saw it, but they saw it. The ones that had a positive relationship with their fathers, when their father's name came up on the screens, the performance centers in the brain spiked. They went up. They got elevated. They were smarter, in effect, for a millisecond or a moment, because they just remembered that voice, that person, that love, that encouragement, that inspiration, that strength. Group B, when they flashed their father's name on the screen, the brain plummeted, shut down. Explain that. Well, we can explain it. We can explain it because that's internalization. See, our relationships live in our heads. That's why you can be in a stressful moment at work and pull up on the screen somebody that loves you and supports you, and you start to feel better if you have internalized that. So what am I trying to say here? What voices are speaking into your life? Come on, people, let's go. Let's stop listening to the wrong voices. And I don't just mean in your head. I'm talking about external. So as Althea said, what was once external can become internal. What was once external become internal. I remember when I was playing competitive golf and other competitive sports, there were those moments where there were certain moments I'd stand over a shot and under pressure, and every now and then, like I'd see my teachers, like almost I could feel him saying, "You got this." It's just different when you have those voices in your head. So, what does that mean? Well, we got to observe them. We got to shut down the negative ones, and we got to internalize some good positive ones. Okay. Yeah, shoot. Let's have it.
Okay. How do you love yourself better? Like loving your neighbor as yourself, like sometimes with harsh thoughts or not paying attention to your own needs or speaking negatively about yourself or not acting in your own best interests. Like, I'm curious about where it comes from, but more importantly, like, how do you move forward and get better at it?
Yeah, it's a really, 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 really good question. And it gets into so many different areas, Paula. It's an area that we can have a lot of, I think, confusion about, because there's so much out there in the pop psychology world. Let me give you an example. How many people, raise your hand as if I could see you. How many people have heard, well, you can't love somebody else until you love yourself? Everybody's heard that. Would somebody please show me where that came from and show me the empirical science behind that? Because here's everything we know about humans is that we come into, and this gets to the answer, Paula, of what you're wondering about. If you've noticed, when a human being comes into the world, they don't move in your house packing big bags of, where am I going to put all this love? I got, this house isn't big enough. I'm bringing a lot of love in here that I got to unpack. They don't come in like that. The way they come in is without anything. There is no love inside of them. So what do? They connect and they emotionally trust and they open up with their need for love. And they say, wee, I need love, translated in baby talk. I need love, I need love, I need love. Some milk and a dry diaper, that'd be cool too, but I really need love. And so what happens is mommy and daddy, the caretakers and whoever is taking care of this little one, they connect with them. And through a very, very, very incredible neurological, psychological, emotional, physiological, spiritual, incredible process, this immaterial thing called love that we can't see under a microscope or cut with a knife on a slide in a laboratory. This invisible thing called love gets internalized inside the child's head. Now, also what gets internalized? The voices that are speaking that love to them. And you'll see little bitty kids after they've been loved, and then they pick up their dolly, and what do? They're saying, oh, are you sad? they're saying exactly the voices that have been given to them that they've internalized and now have been, it's like when you download a program on your computer, all of these voices of outside love are now internalized and they carry them around with them. And then they start to kind of feel about themselves, which is to your question, they're loving themselves really pretty much in the way that they've been loved. Now, other people get other kinds of voices, right? And they don't respect their needs and they don't respond to their needs and they deny their feelings or they minimize their feelings or all of that. And so some people are walking around with some very unloving voices in their head that now have become them talking to themselves. So, Paula, I think what you're asking is, how do we reverse that? Would that be a good way of framing the question?
Yes.
Well, I want you to think about this. The way it worked in the beginning is exactly the same way it gets repaired. Now, it's a little different because now you're an adult and you have the ability to think about your thinking. It's something called an observing ego. And so now I can get above my thinking. And the first thing, and I'm going to give you your list here. You said, how do we do this? All right. Number one is the scientists and the Bible say the same thing, that we have to observe our ways. So instead of just walking around thinking unloving thoughts towards yourself, we got to get above those thoughts and observe and ask this question: how well am I talking to myself? What are the thoughts that I'm saying to myself? Am I respecting my needs when they come up, or do I talk myself out of them? Do I say to them, you shouldn't need that, or no, that doesn't hurt, or you should be ashamed of yourself, that's selfish? And get above those and start to listen to them. Okay? There's so much research on this that if you get above those thoughts and feelings of how you're feeling towards yourself, there's feelings, attitudes, and choices and behaviors, how we behave towards ourselves. And I want you to log those. You know, when people work, clinically on this, what they have patients do a lot of times is they start to record their automatic thoughts. They call them automatic thoughts in cognitive therapy because they just come. So we're going to stop just letting them come. Now we're going to become the boss of the thoughts that are bossing you. So a new manager's moved into town, right? This observing. And now, Paula, I'm going to name you. You are the sheriff. A new sheriff's moved into town and going to say, I'm not going to allow you bullies to talk to Paula like that. So that's the first step. Now, remember, Paula, I told you something. There's a neurological process behind this. And the neurological process is something called internalization, technically. Internalization. And there's another part of this in the thinking world. That's kind of the emotional side of it and the wiring side of it. In the thinking world, it's called assimilation and accommodation. So internalization means I want Paula to have, okay, Paula, what's the job I gave you? What's your new name?
Sheriff Paula.
Sheriff Paula. All right. Now, Sheriff Paula also has a city council that she's part of, right? And you meet with them and you guys talk about how it's going. And you look at how's Paula doing? And that city council is saying, Paula's awesome. Paula is incredible. Did you see what she did yesterday? Or when Paula falls down, they say, Paula, that's all right. Everybody makes mistakes. Come on, let's go learn from that. And they say, Paula, we noticed you got some abilities here that you're not really seeing how good you are. We put together a little fund here, Paula. We're going to send you to a class because we want you to get an extra certification here because we're going to put you in charge of something even bigger than you're doing now. We might make you head of the highway patrol. But the committee is giving you new voices. Now, when we were little, we didn't control which voices were on the committee, but as adults, we can choose who we're going to listen to. And through the process of hearing good people around you now that love you when you're broken, when you fail, when you're alone, when you're needy, when you're hurting, when you doubt yourself, those voices that come along, and the Bible's word for this is and encourage you. Notice the word encourage. Put courage into you. Self-love, people say you got to love yourself. You got to have courage. Well, if my tank's empty, it's going to be hard to get any gas out of an empty tank. Tell that car to have some self-gas. We got to be encouraged from the outside. So I want you to get new voices, be a sheriff, and shoot down those bad voices, right? So you're not allowed. We'll write you a ticket. Shut up. Go to jail. And start policing those and not allowing them. And then you start to say to yourself what God and good people say about you. It's encouraging. Does that help?
Yes. So it's sort of that if something has been untrue, that's quite damaging. And so you're trying to move towards figuring out what is actually true and friendly, helpful.
Yeah, and I'm gonna parse that a little bit. It's what's true and not true, but probably as important, if not more important, is the attitude and the stance that whoever and now you take towards what is true or not true. Okay?
I see.
For example, I don't believe that we should, this is a whole nother program. We get to talk about the problems and the concept of self-esteem. Some people think the way out of this mess is, it's all things positive all the time about all of me. Well, that's not a secure self-concept. A secure self-concept is we look at ourselves realistically, and there's things I do, really well, and I have some strengths and abilities. I also have some things that I'm not doing so well that I need to know the truth about those as well. But the attitude that I need to look at, if something's true about me that I could do better or is not good, I need to know that for my own benefit. I need to know the truth. But is somebody saying it in a way that's critical, that's not loving, that puts me down, that despairs me, if that's a verb, makes me despairing? Does it encourage me to try to get better? You see what I'm saying? So it's not only the truth or untruth. We need to label untruth, throw that out. But even if something's true about me that's not positive, I need it done in a loving way.
I see. Mm-hmm. That does help
give me an example.
I appreciate.
Give me an example of what would be an untrue thing that you had to throw out. Paula, I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if it's true that I'm a bad radio host if I take a sip of my soup while I'm on the air. I don't know what my team's going to tell me about that. But I didn't get to finish lunch. So while you're thinking, I'm going to have a bite of my soup. Okay.
Okay. So sorry, I'm having trouble thinking of one, but
it's okay.
Maybe that it's not important. A certain renovation where I rent isn't important to the person who has the power to make that decision, and they minimize that, and I've suffered some health consequences. So I haven't stood up to it. So I think, well,
great.
I just deserve it this way, and I don't have any power over it. That's
great. Great example.
Maybe my health isn't all that important.
Great example. That is a great example. That's an example of where the sheriff has got to move into town. And let me tell you something about one of the ways that you can always pretty much know that you're on solid ground here is that if somebody is getting oppressed by power, that's injustice. And that's where the law is on your side. But you're right. It starts with you saying, you know what, this is not okay. It's not okay to treat anybody like this. And I am one anybody. And so you do whatever you got to do. You know, you call the Renters Association or the sheriff, the real sheriff, or, you know, whoever it is. But yes, that's a great example. You start to value what you would value in other people, because justice is justice, whether it's for ourselves or for somebody else. You know, if you go to the Bible, there's a lot in there about making claims and pleas that you get justice for yourself and fighting for the justice of others. Justice is across the board. So yes, listen to that voice that says you do deserve to be treated right. You do deserve to be treated correctly, and stand up for that as Sheriff of Paula. Okay? Paula, I'd like to talk more, but we got to go. Does that help you? I hope somewhere.
Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for your call.
Yes, my situation is sort of some of the things you've told the other callers I can apply to my situation. But I have a very strong group of friends. We went to college together. We're in our early 50s. And I lead Bible studies. I've, very close group of friends. I had a very good friend in my Bible study for years. Her husband and I went out a couple of times, very close friends at school. Nothing serious. No,
okay,
nothing.
You said you had someone in your Bible study that you dated her husband?
Yeah.
Had. Not currently.
She found out about it. No one mentioned it. It's not a big deal. You know how at school people go out. He had also gone out with a couple other friends in the friend group. And we're all Christians. We've stayed in touch over the years, which is awesome. Well, one of
my best friends, the way I met my wife was he came to a party of mine and she was his date. We're great friends.
See, that's how it should be. We actually realized, hey, this isn't going to be a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. We're good friends. And so that was it. Then 25 years later, she, at my birthday party, actually, dinner, point blank asked me, did you ever go out with my husband? And I hesitated because she's I knew she would have issues. And
why didn't she know? Why didn't she know before then? How long had y'all been friends?
Told. 20 years. We never even mentioned it because it wasn't.
But you knew this for 20 years, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, but
I did not feel it was my place to tell her. So I never did, and he never did.
I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just more curious. Was it because you were afraid? Unconsciously, you kind of sensed that she's not going to like this.
Yes. She has insecurities, just different things with her family of origin and different things. And, it wasn't anything. If we were boyfriend and girlfriend or there had been something more serious, I think I would have. But it just wasn't. Well, she found out. Well, let
me get a real picture of this. How long did you go out with him for, and was it exclusive?
It was not exclusive. We were not boyfriend and girlfriend. It was a summer between school. You sometimes hang around in the town that you're in. That's what we did. We were the only people around. Hey, let's go to the movies. Okay, a couple times. That's about it. I mean, probably
you just went to the movies a couple
dinners.
Times during college and a few dinners?
Movies, dinners, that's it. Yeah, nothing else.
It? Was he a
Yes,
good kisser?
no one would consider us boyfriend. I'm not gonna. That was about the extent of what happened. A little bit of kissing. That's it.
I had to ask.
That's
Okay.
it.
So what?
Neither
what's the question?
Neither of us were in relationships. So the question is more with the extended friends. I've tried with this friend. I've reached out. I've done everything I can do spiritually, biblically, in every which way.
I mean, why did you even have to reach out? Did she drop out when she found out about this?
Well, yes. She will not speak to me since, and said she cannot be friends with someone who went out with her husband. So that's fine. It's very sad and it's tragic. But my question is about our extended friend group.
Yeah.
This has been going on for 2 years. So the extended friend group is sort of in the middle, but they do not stand up to this. If there's dinners or golf outings or events, everyone's invited but us. We're intentionally uninvited. And so the thing that has caused problems, I have issues with my close friends who go to these things. So I guess my question is, do I have the right to, with these friends, to say, you need to stand up to this? This is basically bullying. You know, if it was me.
Well, it depends on who's doing the inviting. Now,
they are the original couple.
Oh, the original couple.
Yep.
Okay, so
they invite everyone.
It's not like your friends. Not like your friends are having parties and things that you're not invited to because of her. They're not shunning you. They're just going to her parties.
No, that also occurs. If there's, we're in our early 50s, so if there's graduation or kid birthday parties, or our children or young adults now, they have different events. If I'm invited, she will not. She tells the friends, if I'm invited, she will not come.
And then do your friends?
It's extended.
But hold on. But then do your friends go ahead and invite you?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so you do not get excluded. When it's
their stuff.
That's what I'm asking. Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because that is a key point. If your friends were excluding you, right, because she doesn't like it, then I would cry foul on that. Okay. But if you're saying she's having a party and she doesn't want you there and your friends go to her party anyway, that's fine.
Correct.
What you don't ever want, here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to do.
Okay.
You don't want to get in these, if you're for her, then you're against me. No. Somebody's got an issue with somebody. Let that be their own issue. You treat your friends and be the best friend to them that you can be, and you invite them to your stuff and you go to their stuff. And if she doesn't invite you, of course your friends can go. I wouldn't ask them to. I mean, you don't want to be in that kind of like, if she's got the cooties and if you don't, if you play with her, I'm not playing with you. Those kind of games. That's just lame. Don't do that.
Okay. Well, that answers my question. Because I'm like, if you're my true friend, you will stand up to this and not participate in X, Y, Z. It's just, it's unfortunate that it's trickled down into so many relationships, unfortunately.
It's crazy. If what you've told me is all it is.
It's 100% the truth. Yeah.
I mean, that adults are asking to pick sides on something that's 30 years old now. That if I'm hearing this like it is, then I would.
No, you are.
What do your friends say? What do your friends say? Do they say, this is kind of weird?
No, they do. They say it's crazy. It's weird. We feel bad for her. We but it's just such a large friend group, and they will have.
Well, I do feel bad to her, but bad for her, and I would hope. And this may be something you might have even tried this. You might say, we were friends. I always liked you, liked being around you, and this and the other. I would still like to be your friend, but if you don't want to be my friend, that's okay. But I feel bad for you that something that literally is nothing is still having this kind of power over you. And so I just want to reiterate it again. We didn't even have any interest in each other back then, much less now.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Right.
so I wish the best for you. And I'm sorry this has hurt you, and God bless you. I hope we can be friends again. Then let it go.
Yeah.
Thank you for your,
That's
thank
right.
you for your, thank you for your call. I am,
well, you know what? Thank you for your answer, because I know that's what I've got to do. Yeah.
Don't go lose friends over making them choose. I mean, some people like people that we don't like.
I want to. My human self wants to be like, don't go to that party because I'm not invited and my husband's not invited. And it's crazy. And I just feel like it's a stand-up justice thing, and that's not it, is what you're saying. So.
Well, there's two things. If you would say to them, and you don't have to prove your friendship to me by doing this and this and the other, but if y'all ever just said to her, I'm talking to your other friends now, if y'all ever just said to her that, this really isn't, why does it have to be this way? Why does this have to be so divisive? This doesn't seem good to us. We like Mary. She's our friend.
Yeah.
You can make that request, but I wouldn't do the whole divisive thing. Okay. Mary, thank you for your call.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye. Oh, goodness. It's interesting in how hard sometimes it is just to let things go. And whenever, and I'd leave you with this, and we're about out of time here. I wish we had time for another call. You know what? I'm going to try to get to Jenny real quick. Jenny's been holding, and if we can get Jenny on the air and I can get Jenny to ask her question very quickly, we can do this. But I wanted to say one more thing. And that is, when we are holding on to something that literally has no danger for us, then one of the good things to always ask yourself is, why does this bother me so much when it has no actual danger? That means it is symbolic of something that probably did have danger at one point. In other words, I don't know this woman. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking theoretically. Sometimes you see situations like this. What she's saying is that she has a problem with triangles. Okay. That if her husband or whoever she's attached to, if there's another woman in the picture somewhere, that is threatening. Well, why? What in your history taught you that a presence of another person makes you subject to losing love from somebody? That would be a good question to ask. Okay, we are almost out of time here. I don't know where the time goes. Let's go to Aaron, who's calling us from Georgia. We got to go really quick, Aaron. I'm going to need a question because we're almost out of time, but give me a question.
Okay. I've been married 17 years, and my husband has talked to his ex-girlfriend on and off about 5 or 6 times during our marriage. And about a month ago, I decided to make a fake email account with her name and email him to see if he would respond. And he did. He responded, and I told him back before Christmas.
Stop for a second. So 17 years married. He's talked to her off and on. When was the last time he talked to her before you decided to do the detective work?
See, I'm not real sure. He says it was like November.
Oh, and so you knew that it's been as recent as November.
Yes, I knew for sure as recent as November.
I thought if it's 10 years ago and all of a sudden you decide to start sending him emails, I'm going, what?
Oh, no. It was recent. Okay. And so I wanted to see if he would tell me, like, just be honest with me and say, hey, she emailed me. I just wanted to let you know, because every time I've found out about it, it's kind of been brought to light basically by God. It just has been brought to light every time. And
And this last time in November, I said, okay, if you talk to her again, you might as well just sign divorce papers because I can't go through this again. I just can't go through this hurt. I just can't do it. So when I made the email account, I wanted to see what would happen, how he would respond, and he did respond. And so I gave him a chance to tell me, and I confronted him about it when he got home from work, and I said, hey, so you need to get your stuff because I know you're talking to your ex-girlfriend. And he lied and said, no, I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. I've never talked to her. I never saw an email. And I said, you've never talked to her? No, I'm not talking to her. And he was just, that's all he kept saying. And so I told him, I said, you did because it was me you were talking to and when you thought you were emailing her. So he told me that was well played, and he said just apologized, and all he can say now is he was sorry he hurt me. He was just mad because he didn't feel loved from me, so he was getting back at me by lying to me.
That's the wrong answer. What did you say in the email, and what did he say back?
Okay, so I said in the first email I sent to his personal, and I said, hey, I've been trying to contact you because I knew she had contacted his cell phone because he has a number blocked, and it showed that she had tried to call, but it went to automatic rejection or whatever. And I said, I've been trying to contact you, couldn't get a hold of you. Well, he waited till he was at work the next day and emailed back from his work email and said, are you okay? And I said, yeah. He said, I got your email, but I couldn't pull it up. And I said, yeah, I was just seeing if you're okay. And he said, yeah, I'm okay. I'm so glad you're healthy. Can we text? And so I said, no, I can't text. And just kind of said, are you healthy? And that kind of stuff. And then he kind of quit. So I guess he kind of figured since I couldn't text that it probably wasn't her.
Well, you don't know that, right?
I don't know that, no.
Yeah. But there was nothing in there that sounded other than, are you healthy? Are you okay?
No, that was it was pretty short.
Okay. I wish we had more time, but and I could ask you all this stuff. And have you guys had any counseling? Have y'all gone to a marriage counseling?
We were separated 7 years ago, and we went to an intensive 3-day thing. And I asked him about counseling again, and he didn't look for one until this last instance has happened in the last month. He had searched a couple times and couldn't find anybody. So
what happened in what happened in the last month? You talking about this thing you told me about?
I mean, that's when I emailed him, like it happened a month ago, and so we've just kind of been.
All right. Okay. Let me and then and I need you to go fast. So I'm really sorry about our time, but the last time this happened was November. And what was that salacious in any way, or was that just a how are you?
I have no idea.
Oh, you don't? How'd you know about it?
Because I saw where he had her email address in his email, and so I just said, "I know you're talking to her." And so then he would say, then he had said, "Yeah, we have emailed back and forth." He won't ever tell me what he says. He did tell me that he did talk bad about me, that he didn't feel loved and stuff.
All right, let me. Unfortunately, we're out of time. But here's what I would tell you. It's difficult to say, kind of from what happened there without knowing more of the history and this and the other. First of all, he's hard to trust, right? That's just true.
Right.
Because he's lied to you and he's done this other stuff. And so it's you can't trust him, you know that, right? But there's a couple of confounding factors in here. There's a long-standing dynamic between the two of you that it sounds like hasn't really ever been addressed. And here's why I'm saying I really would like for y'all to go see a really good marriage counselor with the presenting problem of you're saying, I don't know how to trust him because A, B, and C has happened. And each time he blames me for it. And at the same time, he says that he doesn't feel loved by me. And I need to know why. And I need to know kind of how we can get past that, if we can get past that. But the big issue is I don't know how to trust him. Okay. Now, here's why I'm saying it would be worth it to have that conversation, because you did an incredible job of entrapment, right? you got him. He said, well played, right? But in his response, and granted, he probably should have said, not responded, or I can't talk to you, or whatever. But in his response, it sounded like he dropped it and just said, kind of whatever. And I'm not saying trust this, but is it possible that he was just trying to say, well, are you okay? Yeah, I'm glad you're okay. I'm not going to do this, especially from work or whatever. I'm not going to do it. And they dropped it. I don't know if that's the case, but there's enough unaddressed in the relationship. I like to see people try to get to, especially with that long of a marriage, try to get to what is the cancer in between us and what is the weakness of character on his part that causes him to blame you when he doesn't feel loved, and to be secretive and go gripe about you somewhere else instead of to you and resolving that. I would like to see that addressed with some skilled person in the room, because betrayals can be overcome, unfaithfulness can be overcome if everybody comes to the light. You can even get to a better place, but probably not without some help. So I'm just saying there's enough in this where I think it's really worth it to go sit down with somebody and talk about it. Oh, such pain, such pain. Just heard about a couple of these where betrayal of trust. It's a hard thing. It's one of the hardest things actually to get over. And you don't know a lot of times what to do with it. Do you try? How hard do you try? When do you trust again? How do you trust again? When do you have hope? When do you give up hope? Well, there are ways to know that. There are ways that much more likely to have hope than other ways. We'll talk about those on another program. Otherwise, we would talk about it today, but we can't because we're out of time. But if you go to boundaries.me, you can become a subscriber to the information there. And there's a lot in there about all of these topics, including the one we were just talked about. How do we trust again? When do you have a necessary ending? And when do you pull the plug? And when do you take a risk? And what do you do after a betrayal? All that kind of stuff you can find addressed at boundaries.me.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I'm doing so good. This is surreal right now.
Now tell me why you're doing so well.
Well, I'm talking to you. This is crazy for me.
Oh, well, I'm I'm glad that's helpful. So,
wow, seriously, I listen to your talk show every single day. So this is whoa.
Well, I'm glad. Now, how did you find it? Did you just stumble across it?
I follow your emails, so I get your emails every morning. And then I was looking up through YouTube. I was looking up some videos by you, and it just popped up. And so last week I streamed 25 hours of you.
What?
I'm not kidding. It was 25 hours in 1 week.
That's some pandemic binge watching, right?
Well, it's when I'm cooking and cleaning and stuff. So
I hope you found something helpful in there. So if you got a question,
I definitely have. Yes,
tell me what
I do. And so, okay. So my question is, when do I let friends go, and when do I try to work through it? Because I don't want to force friendships, but I want long-lasting friendships. So a little bit of background on that is, so I have a best friend, and I had a best friend. And about 8 months ago, actually about a year ago, she said that she needed space from all her relationships. not just me, she was going through some depression and needed complete space. And so I respected that and let her have her space. And within the last 3 months.
How long had you been friends?
Over 2 years.
Okay.
So a few months ago, she reached out just saying, hey, how's it going? And like a few text messages. And every once in a while I get a text message saying like, I read this article and I thought about you, and just really small talk. And so my question is, where is it my job to say, hey, what happened over that last 8 months where I heard nothing, and try to re-engage in the relationship deeper? And where is that forcing her to be at a level of friendship that she's not comfortable with? Because 8 months ago, she said she didn't want a close relationship with anybody.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like when friends pull away, I've had this happen a few times where friends just pull away, and then I want them to stay, but they're obviously pulling away, and I don't know where it is forcing them to stay if I speak up and say, hey, I'm noticing you're pulling away. And where is it just allowing them to be who they are and be in the seasons that they are?
And there's no indication if this was specific in any unique way to you and y'all's relationship versus all of her relationship.
Yeah, so she was going through her childhood trauma was coming up, and she was voicing that a lot to me. So she left the church that she was in.
Her what was coming up?
Her childhood trauma. So there was a lot of projection, and she was aware of it, that she was projecting her trauma on her relationships around her.
But the thing I'm asking is, was it any different with you? Because you said this happened a few times.
Not with her. So it's happened a few times with relationships.
No, I understand
where they
that.
Pull away.
But you're the common denominator, right? And so.
That's painful.
No way! No.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be a negative thing at all. In fact, it could be for very good reasons, right? I mean, I'll give you one example. It could be a good reason. There may be something empathic in you. Okay, I don't know. There may be something empathic in you that pulls for deep with people, and you might attract. You might attract certain kinds of people that
is me.
That want to be like known at this deeper level, but they never have been.
Yes.
And then they start to get close, and then because they never have been, now they get scared. And so it could be a common denominator. It could be a common denominator.
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow. You're seriously speaking. No, you're speaking. That is literally me. Like I've done a lot of my own work. And so I bring up childhood, inner child work a lot, not intentionally just discussing mine. And I draw people in who want to go there. And then they get freaked out and scared because their wounds come out. And then they pull away.
That may be what it is too. So all I'm asking is, it may not be all of their relationships equally, because not everybody's the same. It may be that this is a common dynamic that you experience with people that are drawn into that. So to answer your question, when's it your responsibility to do this or that?
Yeah.
One of the first things I would do is, before you do that, I would sit down and I would say, now, when I look back on this relationship, the time we spent together, how we spent the time, if I look at it with the lenses, like getting some distance on it, is what was happening there it might have been good for a moment or a season for particular reasons, but is that something really that would be good long-term that I want to go back and try to recapture and get? Or is it something that might have been a seasonal kind of, at that juncture, when we crossed in our paths at that time of life, we kind of got from each other where we were and what we needed. And really, that it's like Ecclesiastes 3 says, everything has its season. And it says sometimes there's a time to embrace and another time to shun from embracing. Okay? And there there are really, when you talk about a path of a lifetime, we're going to have a lot of different friends. And I believe in long-term relationships more than anything else, right? Besides God, same thing, long-term relationship. But they're kind of like, they're concentric circles of long-term relationships. Some are closer than others. And there are some, there's concentric circles of longevity. Because where we were at a certain juncture in time, our maturity level, what we needed, where they were, this, that, and the other, it matched, but it wasn't meant to be BFF. Isn't that best friends forever?
Yeah, that is.
So I would want you to just say, when I look back, that was probably really, really good. That was really important. But understanding her and her capacities and what she wants, and I don't know, do I really want to go back and invest again? And just be sure of that is all. Now, the second thing about it is, and this would be the hard work, and I'm not trying to hurt you here. We all have to do this. You said, "Oh, that hurts." Yeah. But I would ask, was there anything about where I was or how I was relating to her that may have been something that she needed to pull away from, and she wasn't really honest enough or strong enough to be honest enough? There was something I would like to hear, or that maybe we should talk about. And then thirdly, it may be that you sit down and you just say, gosh, I hadn't heard from you a while. I know you said you had to take some time away, and sounds like you have. It's good to hear from you again. I'd love to have lunch and just kind of find out where you are. And just go on a listening lunch. No agenda. Not going to go deciding, we're going to be best friends or never talk again. Just like to catch up, see where it goes. So I wouldn't struggle with the big question of, is it my responsibility or all that kind of stuff. I would ask myself, what do I really want out of this relationship? And if I'm going to go deeper and invest my time, there needs to be a good reason. And one of the things I really think is important, and unfortunately I got to hop off after this, Lily, is that I don't believe that all relationships are designed or supposed to be equal in depth, or there's just so many reasons for that. I think there are some relationships that are deeper. Different people have different capacities for going deeper. And there's just, and I think that what we have to do in our lives is our time and our energy that we're going to pour into relationships. I think we've got to steward that well. If you look at Jesus, for example, he had a lot of relationships, a lot of people, and there's this big circle of people in the religious world that he interacted with, and then there's this, several hundred that it seemed like were the followers, however many, and then at that time before it blew up and got really big, and then there's this group of 18 or 20 or so that seem to be closer. That you hear these names more, and then there's 12 that were the closer, and then there's 3 within that, Peter, James, and John, that it seemed like he was the closest to, and then there was one, John, seemed like that he was the closest to. We can derive that in some different ways. And John's the one that actually wrote all of the passages about closeness and intimacy in friendship and relationships. So you got to ask, maybe it was closest to John because John had the greatest capacity to have that kind of friendship. So I want you to look at and steward your time and energy and think about what are the relationships that I want to focus most deeply on and give them the most of your time and energy, or the best, or the first, or whatever. And then we have friendships at all sorts of different levels of closeness, and that's not a bad thing. Does that help?
Oh, that helps so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to go over this with me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your call. Thank you for the encouragement about all those videos you've been watching.
Oh, they're amazing. I had to slow myself down because I'm running out of them.
Well, join boundaries.me.
So make more.
I have. You just got to go to boundaries.me. No, I'm serious. There's 60 something courses on there.
That's true. That's true.
Do that. Okay, Lily, thank you for your call. And hopefully I'll talk to you again sometime. This is the Dr. Cloud Show. We have run up against that clock again. I don't know how that keeps happening. It's another great week. It has been so cool to spend time with you guys this week. I wish we had a best of highlights reel where we could kind of play little clips. There's so many callers this week that just fly through my mind of it was fun. Some were painful, some were deep, but they all have meaning. And one of the things I love about this audience is that you guys approach life like it really, really, really matters and it really means something. And you also approach it realizing that I'm not going to get the full meaning out of this life if I don't engage it and find out how I've got to meet the demands of this life. One of my favorite sayings, an immature person asks life to meet his or her demands. A mature person meets the demands of life. And life shows up every day, guys. It knocks on our door. And life is a cornucopia, right, of all these incredible things. It's incredible things that are available in life and everything that God has designed life to be. And life shows up every day. And it says, if you want to participate in me, I'm going to ask something of you today. I'm going to ask something of you. You got to meet that demand if you want to have the life that you want. We start off in the very beginning about one of those demands sometimes I might have to lean into a little fear. Life is asking me to meet that demand. It's demanding that if you want this, the goodness that's on the other side, I want you to step in. I'm going to demand that you step in. Life is the drill sergeant is asking me to show up. Any relationship, it's going to put demands on you to show up. Have a hard conversation sometimes. Sacrifice. Deny yourself for the other stakeholder in the relationship. Might be something I really, really want, but because I love them and I want something better with them, I'm going to meet that demand. And I'm going to die to my own interests, at least at this moment for this thing. Or I might have to meet the demands of healing. Life is demanding that I maybe pick up the phone and call a counselor or go join a support group or a recovery group or something. And it's asking me to show up. And that's what I love about this audience. That's how we started on this rant. Because you guys show up. You do. I see it on Facebook and other platforms. You show up and you share. I had that problem. I had to do this. This was hard for me. Try this. It's not going to be easy. We're supporting you. You say all that to each other, and it is so great to see you doing that. So anyway, I'm glad to end another week with you. After this, I hope to get some sleep. I've been up most of the night with a new puppy who doesn't like the crates, so she makes a lot of noise. But I had some boundaries, right? And I didn't rescue her and let her howl, and finally she just cocked herself out a few times, and now she's kind of hanging out in the crate pretty well after one night of not giving in. Boundaries. Okay. Go to boundaries.me and check it out. Become a subscriber and join all of this group of people that are going together. Take the show link, share it with your friends. If we continue to build an audience here, we will stay. All right. I'll see you then. Okay.